looked at Caitlin Clark, and they said when she was out over these 5 games with a quadricep injury, there was a diminished interest to some degree in the WNBA. I don't know how fair that is, but what I will ask you is this. Clearly, her return has obviously generated additional eyeballs. I have no doubt that the ratings are going to show as much.
Stephen A. Smith has finally crossed the ESPN Rubicon. He's doing what no one else at the network had the guts to do: give Caitlin Clark her flowers while she can still smell them. And not just polite applause, but the kind of loud, unapologetic praise that shakes desks and breaks algorithms. He didn't mince words. He said what fans have been screaming for months. Caitlin Clark isn't just a rookie phenom. She's a once-in-a-generation force flipping the entire WNBA script. While others play safe with lukewarm takes, Stephen A. brought the flamethrower and burned through the nonsense with some long overdue truth.
After taking 19 days off to recover and heal from injury, Caitlin Clark returned against the New York Liberty with a phenomenal, epic, legendary performance, something that the WNBA has never seen and something that sports fans only see once every 5, 6, 7 years. Some shit that when you're watching it, you're like, damn, this person is having an outer body experience. This player has reached a new level, and I know I am witnessing absolute greatness.
Let's be honest. If Caitlin Clark were any more influential, the league might as well rebrand to Clark Ball. So what sets Stephen A. Smith apart from the rest of the ESPN crew? Simple. He's not afraid to speak the truth while everyone else fumbles through corporate-approved cliches. While others acted like Clark was just a flash in the pan, Stephen A. called it like it is. She's the future. And now his bold honesty is putting ESPN's past silence on full blast.
Now let me focus on Caitlin, because the girl comes back, she does a thing, 32 points, 55% shooting, 7 to 14 from three-point range. I want to know, in your estimation, where do you rank her as a shooter in the WNBA, and considering her assist, where do you rank her as a player in the WNBA in just her first 1.5 seasons in the league?
Steven, it's funny because I was listening to your last segment where you were talking about Steph Curry and you said he's the greatest shooter God ever created. On Saturday, Caitlin Clark certainly looked like that for the WNBA.
For months, Stephen A. Smith has been the lone voice in the ESPN wilderness, saying what no one else dared. Caitlin Clark is the generational talent, dragging the WNBA into the spotlight. While others downplayed her impact or stayed silent, Stephen A. stayed loud and loyal. Now, as ESPN scrambles to join the hype train they once ignored, Smith stands out, not for changing his tune, but for never needing to. He saw the truth from day one and never backed down.
Fanatics also reported a 100% increase in sales for WNBA-specific merchandise. It started with Caitlin Clark. And so now that we know all of this, and we've known that for months, now we get to turn around and look and see what exactly is it that the league will do, knowing that she's out for the next 2 weeks. I'm not saying I know for sure what's going to happen, but I have an idea.
Let's rewind to last season. Caitlin Clark wasn't just playing basketball. She was rewriting the record books like she had Game Shark powers. Historic performances? Check. Jaw-dropping stats? Double check. But ESPN acted like it was just another Tuesday. Instead of highlighting her once-in-a-generation dominance, they chased manufactured drama and fake rivalries. While Clark was making history in real time, the network was too busy pushing tired narratives to give her the spotlight she clearly earned.
The WNBA is literally living off of one player. Her name is Caitlin Clark. And Caitlin Clark is literally the whole entire league. And I try to tell you fans, you WNBA fans who are so pig-headed at times, they don't care about Nafisa Collier, they don't care about Aja Wilson, and these Paige Becker fans, yeah, they don't care about her either, bro. It's all about Caitlin Clark. The ratings went down 50% because Caitlin...
Why? That's the million-dollar question. Maybe ESPN had other narratives they were desperate to push. Maybe it was their share the spotlight strategy, trying to keep the focus balanced across names that weren't pulling the same numbers. Or maybe it was the pressure from established stars with massive followings and fragile egos. Or, hey, maybe a little drama just drove more clicks and tweets. Whatever the reason, it clearly wasn't about basketball. Because if it were, Caitlyn would have been front and center all along.
One day, the downfall of ESPN will be studied. I've been on this train for a couple of years now. I grew up absolutely loving ESPN, all of the shows throughout my lifetime with all sports. ESPN used to be just about sports. Look what the topic they're talking about this morning. Look at this. Look, Dak Prescott's legacy. Who the hell cares? You got the NBA Finals going on. Rafael Devers just got traded. And for a company that says that they love the WNBA, you just had Caitlin Clark come back and take on the undefeated Liberty and beat them in a game. ESPN is a joke. Anybody who takes anything that this station does seriously needs to also...
If you are enjoying, please subscribe. Fast forward to now, and Caitlin Clark is having the kind of season that feels like she's rewriting basketball logic with every game. Logo threes, no-look dimes, record-breaking performances. It's a nightly masterclass. And yet, ESPN treated her like she was just another box score stat. Imagine a kid inventing Wi-Fi 2 during recess, and the teacher handing out gold stars to the kid who turned in their homework. That's how Clark's been covered, understated, ignored, or downplayed, while the real impact she's making is nothing short of historic. She's not just changing the WNBA, she's forcing the league, the media, and the fans to evolve. And now that it's undeniable, everyone's acting like they saw it coming all along.
And Caitlin Clark came and put on a show, 32 points, the Indiana Fever, taking down the undefeated New York Liberty. And you know that media had to talk about it. You know that sports media had to talk about it after being ignored, after nobody brings up the WNBA while Caitlin Clark's out. She's back, and so is the media talking about the WNBA. Some things that the old guard just don't want to admit, but it is.
But then Stephen A. Smith steps into the conversation. While ESPN played it cautious and tried to downplay, Stephen was out there speaking truths others at the network lacked the courage to voice. For months, they acted like Clark was just a passing trend, ignoring the undeniable signs of her greatness. Stephen couldn't stay silent any longer, especially as basketball fans everywhere were calling out the obvious. Clark was playing like a true superstar, and her impact was far bigger than anyone had expected. When the fans, those who actually watched the games, started shouting, "Hey, ESPN, stop acting like she's just some random player," it became impossible to ignore. And though ESPN's other voices hesitated, waiting until they had no choice, Stephen A. blatantly boldly acknowledged what everyone else was starting to see. Caitlin Clark is an unstoppable force, rewriting the game before our eyes.
Thanks to Clark, Indiana led the league in attendance both at home and on the road. The Fever averaged 17,035 fans at home and over 15,000 on the road. 4 teams moved home games to bigger arenas when Indiana came to town to accommodate more fans. That's about Caitlin Clark. How do we know this? Attendance for the entire league was up nearly 50% last year. According to data from across the timeline, and Indiana led all teams with an average attendance of 17,035. That was up 319% from the year earlier.
Now, ESPN's acting like they just discovered Caitlin Clark's greatness, saying, "Remember Caitlin Clark? She's amazing, a true superstar." Really? It took an entire season of her dominating on the court for them to finally catch up? Meanwhile, Stephen A. Smith has been shouting it from the start. She's not just talented, she's changing the game entirely. It's like that friend who hated your favorite band, then suddenly shows up at the concert wearing a band t-shirt, acting like they've been a fan forever. Ugh, I've been listening to them since day one. I was on this train from the start. Yeah, sure, buddy. Don't act too surprised when Stephen A. is there to remind everyone of their obvious public ignorance. And let's talk about ESPN's coverage system. An elaborate game of narrative control. They love to shape the story to fit their agenda, almost as if it's a sport within itself. Just when you think they're being fair, They pull some shady stunt that makes you question if they even watched the same games as everyone else.
So if every team stays healthy, New York and Minnesota are still the favorites to meet in the WNBA Finals, but a Caitlin Clark-led Indiana Fever team like the one we saw on Saturday certainly could make things interesting along the way. And it is important to note that the New York Liberty were not only without Jonquel Jones, but Leonie Febish, another important starter for them. So they weren't completely whole, but even if they were, the way Caitlin played, the way Indiana played, Indiana's probably still coming out with that victory.
Last year, Caitlin Clark was treated like just another rookie, barely recognized beyond her team. Why was that? Who knows? Maybe ESPN had other priorities. Or perhaps they're so used to controlling the narrative, deciding who gets the spotlight, rather than letting performance speak for itself. It's honestly a mystery. But Stephen A. Smith saw through the fog. He boldly stated that Clark isn't just a star, she's a serious contender for League MVP. He recognized what many others started to see. Clark had the kind of season you only read about in fairy tales or see in epic basketball movies. And now, everything has shifted. The irony is hard to ignore. After downplaying her impact last season, pretending her rise was just a passing phenomenon, ESPN is now rolling out a celebration, praising her as if she just uncovered the secrets to world peace. They're acting like they've been on her bandwagon from the very beginning. It's almost amusing how quickly the narrative changed. Sure, ESPN had to pretend they were oblivious to her greatness at first, but at least now they're finally acknowledging her as the force she truly is. Through all of this, Stephen A. Smith remained consistent, giving her the credit she deserved from the start, even when it wasn't the popular opinion within his own network. His unwavering support highlights how genuine his recognition has been, contrasting sharply with the shifting, sometimes superficial coverage elsewhere.
Became the first rookie with at least 25 points, 5 assists, and 5 rebounds in a playoff game. That was Caitlin Clark. Became the fourth different rookie to play all 40 minutes in a playoff game. That was her. I'm looking at other things. 6 different league television partners. This is last year. This is last season, because this is Caitlin Clark that we're talking about. 6 different league television partners set viewership records that year, her rookie year, for its highest viewed WNBA game. Do you know every one of those games included the Indiana Fever?
It's almost as if ESPN went from "Who's Caitlin Clark?" to "Okay, we get it now. We really get it," all within a few months. I can almost see the inevitable about face coming, where they act like they were the first to discover her talent. That "I told you so" moment will probably be accompanied by a montage of her most incredible highlights, set to dramatic music. We'll see slow motion shots of her draining half-court threes as if she's playing a completely different game from everyone else. And yes, Caitlin Clark will definitely deserve all that hype. But let's not forget that ESPN literally had their heads in the sand last year, ignoring her impact altogether. Meanwhile, Stephen A. Smith was out there saying she should have been on Team USA, that she deserved to be Time's Athlete of the Year, and that she was directly responsible for the league getting chartered flights just 2 weeks after she arrived. His unwavering support was clear from the start, contrasting sharply with the network's initial indifference. It's a reminder that sometimes the real recognition comes from those willing to see talent beyond the noise.
Season, Caitlin Clark's rookie year, for all of the conversation that surrounded her, some which was fair and some which wasn't, the one thing that I cannot deny is the amount of little girls that were showing up to follow her. Little girls with their parents and the fervor and the energy there.
Why her?
Same thing.
Why her?
Well, I was just about to say same thing for Angel Reese when I had a chance to cover their games. But I think Caitlin represented, and again, some of this to me probably is not fair to her because it was not anything that she said or was truly based on her personality, but she was a white girl from the middle of America. And so she represented a whole lot to a lot of people.
But let's not overlook the fact that ESPN, true to form, completely dropped the ball on this one. They were too caught up in hyping the same tired narratives and playing it safe, while a player who would ultimately change the game was out here doing things that made you question if she was accidentally born in the wrong era. And the best part? They can't even pretend they didn't notice. The proof is in the stats. Caitlin Clark's numbers were almost unbelievable. She was rewriting what it meant to be a point guard, pushing the boundaries of scoring and playmaking. Her points per game were so high they could have become a new benchmark for offensive production. She was sinking deep threes with such consistency it looked like she had a remote control in her hand, casually pressing buttons and making the ball go in every time. And her court vision? Next level. She was threading passes that made you wonder if ESPN was even paying attention, or if they were too busy rerunning some old drama no one cares about anymore. Instead of recognizing her brilliance early on, they stuck to their familiar formula, missing the most exciting basketball being played right in front of them. It's a classic case of missing the forest for the trees.
Done. We know what she brings to the table. But people wanted to hate because why? You had a bunch of players in this league that watched this young white girl come along and take the league by storm. And they resented it because they saw the marketing prowess that she had. They ignored the fact that you got chartered flights because of this girl. They ignored the fact that ratings were going through the roof because of this girl. Instead, they resented it because they said, yo, we were doing stuff long before Caitlin Clark got here. And y'all wasn't paying attention then. But now the young white girl comes along and y'all want to sit up there and shower all of this praise and all of this attention that was earned before she ever came along. The resentment is understandable, but it's not about Caitlin Clark. It's about what she represents. My point is...
But now, suddenly, Caitlin Clark's the hottest name in basketball, and ESPN can't get enough of her. They'll hype up every move she makes, probably to the point where it's borderline obnoxious. Don't be surprised when the next highlight reel has some slow-mo action shots of her draining shots, like she's literally bending the laws of physics. The network that once barely gave her the time of day is now treating her like she's the best thing to happen to the sport since Michael Jordan decided to turn a dunk into an art form. What's truly hilarious, though, is that ESPN can't even pull off the "we always knew" narrative. They can't go back and pretend like they were on the Caitlin Clark bandwagon from day one. It's too late for that. The receipts are there. They were too busy investing in fluff pieces and safe generic content that overlooked the real talent right in front of them. You can't unsee that, no matter how many dramatic montages they throw together now.
When Caitlin Clark was out with injury, were they talking about WNBA on First Take? No. Were they talking about the WNBA on NBA Countdown? No. Were they talking about the WNBA on NBA Today? No. Were they talking about the WNBA on Fox Sports? No. Were they talking about the WNBA on First Things First? No. Were they talking about the WNBA on the Colin Cowherd Show? No. But now, she's back, and of course, they are back.
At the end of the day, Caitlin Clark's rise is all the more satisfying because of ESPN's delay in recognizing her greatness. It's like watching someone miss the big play and then try to act like they were the ones calling the shots all along. Sure, they've jumped on the bandwagon now, but they're still a few steps behind Stephen A. Smith, and we all know it. You could literally take half of her games and they'd still be better than some of the MVP caliber performances they were hyping up at the time. ESPN just had to act like they were waiting for the perfect moment to admit they were wrong, but by the time they caught up, Caitlin Clark had already left the competition in the dust. The truth is, ESPN's so-called late recognition is the perfect encapsulation of how sports media works. It's all about who they decide is worthy of attention. You can break records all day long, but unless they can figure out how to slap a shiny, marketable bow on you, don't expect them to notice. Caitlin Clark, being the basketball force she is, didn't fit the mold ESPN wanted to follow, so they just put her in the too good to ignore category for far too long.
How receptive do you believe the WNBA is going to, I'm not talking about the league, but the players within the league are going to be towards Caitlin Clark moving forward now that we've seen what her absence, what kind of impact her absence provides?
You know, I don't know that the two things are necessarily related in terms of them recognizing what it was like in her absence. But there was a moment in that game on Saturday, probably my favorite moment of the game. And it happened late in the first quarter when Breanna Stewart was guarding Caitlin Clark. And Caitlin Clark came down and cleared out the entire right side of the floor. You're going to see her here. Get out of here, guys. Get out of here. Breanna Stewart is a 6-time all-defensive player. They came down the floor after this moment, and they were just laughing.
Now ESPN is scrambling to finally give Caitlin Clark the recognition they should have been handing out months ago. It's honestly pretty amusing. Like watching a kid who just learned to tie their shoes try to run a marathon, only to trip over their own laces while insisting they've been sprinting since birth. You can almost hear the network producers sweating behind the scenes, hurriedly putting together last-minute tribute segments and highlight reels, as if that somehow makes up for the months of radio silence. And let's not forget Stephen A. Smith, who's been saying from day one that she's the real deal. He's probably sitting back, smugly sipping his coffee, relishing every moment to say, "Told you so." There's something undeniably satisfying about being right. Yet watching ESPN scramble to cover their tracks, publicly eating humble pie is the real entertainment. It's more exciting than any buzzer-beater, jaw-dropping dunk or slow-motion replay. The irony of the situation makes it all the more compelling. Finally recognizing her brilliance, but only after they've tried to ignore it for so long.
Caitlin Clark is 1 in a million, and I hope this league understands that. I hope this league gets it through their thick skull that CC is the WNBA.
Caitlin Clark is finally getting the praise she's deserved all along. And honestly, it's about time. After carrying college basketball on her back, smashing records, and filling arenas like she's headlining a world tour, it only makes sense that the spotlight stays where it belongs. On her. Hopefully this season, ESPN doesn't turn the MVP race into another popularity contest, because if they ignore her remarkable stats, leadership, and game-changing impact again, we might have to start a nationwide petition, and maybe even send them a calculator to remind them of her true value. Caitlin isn't just playing the game, she's transforming it. Now, the world is watching, and this time, ESPN might finally follow her lead instead of trying to create their own narrative. Keep going, Caitlin. She's earned it. The court is hers, and so is the future of women's basketball. And let's not forget Stephen A. Smith, who's been brave enough to speak honestly from the start. Sometimes, it takes someone willing to call it like it is to truly shift the conversation. If you enjoyed leaving a like and subscribing, more videos are on the screen now.